Welcome back to another episode of Them Might Be Self-Aware. I am Hunter Powers, joined by Daniel Bishop. He's not here right now, but he's going to pop up any second. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about what we are going to discuss today on the show. We're going to start with Digit, the humanoid robot. It's folding laundry, but how close are we to true chore-free living? And speaking of robots, we've got Tesla bots, we've got Boston Dynamics, we've got robot dogs. Will AI butlers arrive in the next 2 years? That's the timeline we're discussing, the next 2 years. And what's going on in China? Their self-driving EVs are maybe way ahead of ours. They've got flying construction drones and robot wolves. Who's leading this robotics race? And as this future arrives, is it going to be a robotic evolution or a robotic revolution? Incremental gains or sudden leaps? We are diving deep, folks, right here on
They Might Be Self-Aware.
Hunter.
Yes.
I was doing laundry the other day.
I've done laundry before.
I know, I'm bragging because I actually did it really soon after it came out of the dryer. It was still warm while I was putting it away. And I'm bragging because I usually don't do that.
I'm trying to remember. I have this, I'll buy anything. It's one of my faults and one of my gifts, maybe. But I have this thing called laundry sauce. Have you heard? Did you ever get inundated with the ads for laundry sauce?
I've heard of laundry sauce being like just another name for the detergent that you put in.
It's just a scented detergent, but
okay.
I somehow got signed up for like their subscription, and boxes
Everything's a subscription.
Laundry sauce have been arriving, and it like never gets to the top of the thing to stop it and to go in and cancel.
Okay.
Sorry, you were talking about laundry, and I don't see how
the sauce thereof. That's right.
Yeah.
Doing laundry sucks, I think, is sort of the follow-up to that. I really, really hate doing it. It turns out that my wife also hates doing it, and so we end up having a couple of...
Do you separate...
Loads... What, like darks from whites kind of thing?
Like I know that that's a thing that I was like told was a thing back when I first did laundry, but I abandoned that idea a long time ago, and I haven't suffered any repercussions. How about...
I still do it from habit.
Okay.
But what I understand is that like modern laundry sauce and so on make that not a problem anymore. And like the colors in our fabrics don't run the way that they used to or whatever it is. So I think I still separate them out because it's just habit. It's just like a cultural thing that is like stuck with me. But anyway, I really, really hate doing it. My wife hates doing it. We'll end up having whole baskets of it to do like together at a time. It's really piled up, which I like to say is it's more efficient to wait until there's a bunch of it and then do it all at once. That way you're not losing. Yeah, you don't lose time on context switching. I can just do laundry for a long time. I also then found out that I have like 40 something pairs of socks. It's just too many pairs of socks, but I can let a lot of laundry go before it's time to. Anyway, the point is, it turns out I might be right at the cusp of not having to do it anymore. And I don't mean because my kid's getting old enough to do the laundry for me. I mean because technology is going to solve it for me.
Oh, the laundry folding robot?
There's a laundry folding robot. Now, years ago, there's already a big, really big machine. I wouldn't call it robot, that you can have that shirts go in and it like folds them and it comes out. It's a huge appliance and it'll do some folding for you. But there's a robot whose name is Digit, who's hooked up to Google's Gemini. It was built by Agility Robotics, a US firm. And so Digit was shown folding laundry, like a humanoid robot doing chores. One of my most hated chores. I've seen a lot of progress in humanoid robots, and of course the like dog-shaped ones. We've talked about maybe getting one of them a Pulitzer one of these days. But in your opinion, if you had to guess, I'm putting something on the calendar, how long before I can buy either Digit or something very much like it, a humanoid robot that can do, I want two things: fold laundry and clean dishes?
Those are very different things.
It's taking something and it's putting it somewhere else. We talked about this last episode where I expected automation of like transportation would have been first. And it turns out, nope, we automated the creatives away. Oops. How long before we can automate away dishes and laundry?
I was watching a video
now, according to this, but
a live stream with Elon while he was gaming and pontificating on AGI and his Tesla robots. And he said AGI by 2026 at the latest, and his robots, which in theory would be able to do these tasks as well as pick up your kids and a couple other things.
Just a little simple market manipulation, no big deal. Yeah.
I believe he said over the next 2 years. Sorry, so then
He's never been wrong about a date before.
Let's start with, you said it can both do your laundry and wash the dishes. The same
doesn't
robot
really need to do anything else, but if it can do those two things, I think that represents a large amount of ability to understand your space, navigate the space, and like accomplish meaningful tasks within it.
And I'm assuming we mean load the dishwasher and load the washing machine. We don't mean that it has a dishwasher built into it.
Right. It doesn't open its mouth and like throw your shirts in. It goes, yummy, and starts kind of jiggling around, and you hear the sloshing, and then it births some clean clothes.
Clarification.
Yeah. That said, I'm sure some people would be really into that form factor. I wouldn't.
So do I buy that it can be done in 2 years?
It looks like a person. It uses your existing washer and dryer, puts stuff in, takes it out, separates the whites from the darks if you want, puts it into the dryer, runs the dryer, takes them out, folds them, it doesn't even have to put them away. Let's just say it can fold it and it's like on your bed in nice little piles.
Right. So then the next thing I would look at is, to what degree are there some ways of accomplishing these tasks today? I have an infinite budget. Is there technology that can do this? You pointed out that old laundry folding, we'll call it a machine, not a robot. It's a giant stack thing. You load it in the top and it comes out sort of neat and folded. So I know it's a very different tech, but tech exists in this area. So I think 2 years probably is the right window for when this will be available. I don't think it'll be mainstream within 2 years, but will there be a robot that you can just purchase that is generic enough that it can accomplish these two, to some degree, disparate tasks? Yes. Right. And because we also know there's
presumably for the price of like a mid-sized car, like a $30,000 to $50,000. It's a lot of money, but it's not like, whoa, that costs as much as a house.
You've got Tesla working on it, as you know. You've got the Figure company working on it. Apple is reportedly, their next thing is going to be a home robot, an iPad with a robot arm. I still don't understand that one, but
surely a Boston Dynamics robot is going to be available for sale to the regular average Joe at some point,
it just might look like a dog, because apparently that's a very popular form factor.
It's got more legs, more stability.
Yeah. As long as you're like a robot dog folding your laundry, I think you're good.
I talked about some episodes ago when we were talking about like journalism and having a robot on the scene to like be a reporter. I mentioned it not having to follow a humanoid pattern at all, or even a dog. You could have a spider robot. You could have something that's like a weird, Jabba the Hutt, big slug monster type something. Whatever the method of locomotion or size or whatever, like if it can get around and accomplish the tasks.
You're not concerned with the aesthetic, just the end result. Get the job done.
I think it's just not too big, because you mentioned existing technology. I could have, like in a factory, there are lines that will go and there's huge machines that will then fold the shirts before they get packaged up and sent off. Obviously, I don't have the space or desire to use space for some huge assembly line. There is an upper limit to how big this thing can be. But like, if it looks like a person or a dog or like a weird butterfly armadillo mashup or something, who cares as long as it can get the job done? People like things that look like humans, that look mammalian. I think there's probably some psychological studies that'll explain what that's about. So maybe as long as it kind of looks like a mammal, give it some nice big eyes, people will love it. But I don't know, give it 4 arms, give it 10 arms.
You just might have to go to China to purchase this robot. And I say that.
They selling some under the table robot armadillo butterflies, whatever I said.
There's, I don't know, I'll call it a news current suggesting that China is way far ahead of us in robotics. Part of it is their cars suggestions. We've been talking a lot about self-driving cars, suggesting that, hey, in China, they have cars that are their ability to handle self-driving is way beyond us. They only cost $12,000 to buy this EV, and the technology will just blow your mind. There were videos over the last week, I think I saw them on X, of these Chinese robots that were like rolling down mountains. I don't know if you saw these clips, and maybe I'll link it in. And they were pretty impressive looking. There was another story coming out about these new wolves that China is building. They're like robot wolves soldiers with guns and missile launchers.
It's called the gray wolf. It's just the robot dog, which is to say a quadruped
Now it's a wolf.
of a certain size, and they just put a gun on top of it, which the US had already been doing.
But apparently theirs is better and cheaper.
Of course it's better. I will definitely say that they're probably working on the cheaper side much more, because the Chinese EVs allegedly have been trying to really come for the US's lunch, and we're going to already have tariffs on them, going to slap bigger tariffs on them, presumably, to protect, I guess, domestic interests. And some people are saying, let what is in the US die if they can't be competitive when it comes to these cars. Other people saying, well, what about the subsidies that China has for these things? I'm not going to get into the economics of it, but what I will say is I personally haven't heard anything about their self-driving tech being better, maybe less regulation, but I haven't heard about it being better. I have definitely heard about cheaper, and one place where I will give it to them on robotics is drones. Now, maybe the robot dogs being chucked down a mountain fits kind of into that territory. But DJI,
I love my DJI drone.
There's nothing domestic that competes. We have one competitor. I can't even remember their name right now. But there's like a big US competitor that's supposed to be like DJI, and they're just not as good, not as cheap. You could say certain things being subsidized or not, but when it comes down to it, those are the model that you're going to go to if you want the best drones.
Yeah, I just got the Air 3S, and DJI is pulling all sorts of shenanigans to ship you these. First off, the US has been suggesting that maybe these things were spun on us.
There we go.
No US retailer is stocking them. They have to be shipped from China here, and they're being shipped up from a different company name. They're not being shipped from DJI, and they had some it was not clear on that bill that I read of what that was a DJI drone in this box at all. And this is the only way you can get them right now. Did you have
to sideload software onto your phone to be able to fly it? Because I have a DJI something to Mavic, whatever, something. It's a couple of years old. And I remember at the time that I got it, I couldn't fly it by just download the app, hook my phone into the controller, and off I go. I had to download it from somewhere else and allow side loading of apps, and I go into advanced settings to even get this thing. Is that still the case?
That was not the case with the Air 3S, and I think I've had a couple of others. I don't think I've had that requiring side loading experience. The only thing I've seen with side loading is there's a lot of regulations of where you can and can't fly. And there are also requirements about reporting that your drone is in the sky and where it is, which DJI handles all of that. But I have seen some side-loaded, hacked APK files that bypass the regulations so that you can fly it wherever you want.
For a while, I had, when I was still using this drone a bunch, I still have it, I just haven't used it in a while. I had the air traffic control for the local little airport in my phone, saved, because it hadn't updated to automatically inform anyone over whatever the protocol is for this yet. So I had to call them and say, I want to fly up to this height near you. Is that okay? Because I just live a mile and a half from a small airport. And someone would pick up and be like, yeah, you're fine. They never said no. I was keeping it under 100 whatever feet. And they're just yes, thank you for calling us. And we know that you have to, but yeah, you're good. I could imagine other places and other scenarios, it being very important to call and inform people. And it's nice to hear that there seems to be some sort of automated version of that now.
So they definitely have the lead in consumer drone tech.
And maybe when it comes to putting guns on that tech.
I mean, we have some pretty impressive robotics companies in the US.
Yeah.
I've seen the demos. I've seen them dancing. They can dance. They can make drinks.
Yeah, I don't think China is ahead when it comes to robotics. Certain kinds of robotics, yes, but I don't think like the big war type ones. Now, granted, drones being used for war, the entire world, I think, is changing, is shifting on the head of a pin as quickly as possible because of the Ukraine-Russia war. We're seeing drones being an ever larger part of that conflict. And so more capable drones where you don't have to put a human directly in danger, it makes absolute sense that you'd want that technology to be as good as possible. So I think everyone at the like governmental war type level is scrambling to have some sort of supremacy there.
What's the Oculus creators guy who has his war company?
Lucky Palmer or something? Palmer?
Yeah, Lucky Palmer. I know they're big into drones and drone tech for that specific purpose. Well, all right. So in 2 years, you're going to have your robot. It probably doesn't have to come from China. That will do your laundry and your dishes at the same time.
Right. And now, what about construction? I don't know if you saw this or not, but there have been a couple of videos in the last, like, I'll say week or two. I hadn't seen anything of this before, but it's the really big drones that can, like, carry a load in China where there's not really an OSHA to stop them. And just a long line from them and like tiny little sky cranes, basically hooking onto a sandbag or a big thing of cement or whatever, and then just flying them across a gorge. And, you know, the posts say this saved however many hours and it couldn't have been done otherwise. I think that we are on the cusp of a robotics. I don't think revolution is the right term. It's more an evolution that has been sneaking up on us for a long time and is about to be good enough. Just like ChatGPT, in many cases, would act as well as a replacement for an okay person. I think we're going to start seeing like a drone being used to move construction supplies or do your laundry or walk the dog. Just a lot of different scenarios where we hadn't really imagined robotics being able to do it. It looks like we're so close.
There's been a lot of startups that have tried to solve the drone last mile delivery, where you'll deliver your prescription via drone to remote areas super quickly.
I'm shocked this isn't bigger yet.
None of those.
I really thought, like, heard about it years ago, and I was, 6 months from now, Amazon's going to be dropping off my packages.
Amazon has done a ton of the research, and they've built all these different systems. They're pretty cool, but I believe they've wind them all down at this point. None of them were successes.
Right. I think like in rural Australia or like one or two places, this is still being used, but I don't know. Why do you think? I haven't seen anything on why these services would have failed, but I imagine consumerism's like ever growing need to get more stuff and get it quicker. Why don't we have a big, just like dome on the top of all the Amazon warehouses with drones just flying in and out constantly? There has to be a reason.
One issue is their load capacity has been very limited, and a lot of these startups have been focused on things like medicine. We'll bring you your medicine, very small items. Not, your construction supplies. Your bag of concrete is coming in on a DJI drone.
Right.
It seems logical that a drone could carry a bag of concrete, that they could build one, because you could build a helicopter and throw a big bag of concrete on it. Yeah, so it's just bigger. But as it gets bigger, there's got to be all sorts of additional safety concerns that aren't as prevalent with a small form factor of a drone carrying something little. And that's
but we have roads for cars. Like, it's the same thing. Every futuristic movie I've ever seen has like roads still, but in the air where there's a bunch of vehicles going in lines. Why not have very specific? If you want to get from A to B, you have to follow, just make it the existing roads. Why not? It wouldn't be super efficient, but like you literally have to fly over roads or 5 feet off the side of the road in case you drop or whatever it ends up being. But like, just have them do that, and they can only land on big old QR codes or something. That way, like, oh, I can see this is that person's backyard. Whatever it ends up being. I'm trying to solve a problem that obviously they've put a lot of effort in trying to do, and it didn't work out for some reason, but
right. There's probably an issue of cost efficiency. It's too expensive to buy the drone, by the operator.
If you're trying to keep prices as low as possible.
To deliver it. And then potentially there's technical limitations and potential safety and legal limitations. I'm not aware of what those might be, but a drone navigating to my front door sounds potentially dangerous if I just open my door one day and there's a drone coming right at me.
Yeah, just whirring right at head height.
Yeah. It's
probably mostly safety stuff, right? Like there were 1 or 2 tests where it tangled up somebody's long-haired dog, and they said, "Oops, okay, maybe this isn't safe enough yet."
I do find it odd still when I look up in the sky and I see a couple drones up there. I live at the beach. There are drones up in the sky a lot. People flying around, taking pictures, etc. But there's just something a little weird about it. But yeah,
I really did think that we were going to be at a point where like there's giant Amazon dirigibles up in the air and you can just hear the occasional thunk as they shoot out of a cannon, and there's just like an Amazon sabot, holding in your new PS6 or whatever it is, and it just gets delivered at hundreds of meters per second, bam, right to your door. I really thought that future was like right around the corner, and something like robotics, just kind of like we do with the AI, large language model, whatever world that we're getting used to now. I thought that we were there when it came to robotics. The world was about to change and has been for years. I do think we're going to see more of that in the next few years of it stops being slow. It stops being wrong nearly as much. There are enough safeguards or, a zone that it's not allowed to land in or whatever, whether it be air deliveries or someone doing your laundry for you. The robot butler won't do your dishes unless nobody's within 10 feet of the kitchen.
I was thinking
start with guidelines like that, right?
Yes. The one last mile robot delivery thing that does seem to have taken off in dense urban areas are the robots that kind of look like a cooler and they travel along the sidewalk.
Yeah, I have seen some of those.
I've seen those going down the sidewalk. They seem to work. They've struck the right balance between it not being too expensive to run, and they mostly navigate correctly. I know they're also found on college campuses frequently.
Yeah.
That seems to be a success in a dense urban area. So there is a path there. And if that is a success, then I guess going beyond that. And so then we have companies, I think there's a company called Neuro that has done lots of food delivery. And they like built their own car for delivering pizzas where the pizza oven was in the car and it would come automatically to you. And they have deployed this, I think in Texas, there were several trials where they would deliver food, full self-driving car. I think they were limited to 35 mile per hour streets or something like that. The company still exists today, but they haven't found any real success with that. But potentially that's still just the limitations of self-driving vehicles on roads. In general, you cannot have a car driving down the road without a driver in the driver's seat, but that is something that's rapidly changing. So I would imagine as legislation is in place across more and more states to allow those scenarios, that we will see more autonomous delivery vehicles. And again, I'd imagine that those cars are far more efficient than sending an airplane, a drone, with your delivery, in their capacity, in the risk and the cost per pound or kilogram delivered. It's far better with those vehicles. So you have the cooler robots going on the sidewalk when you're close, and then it just goes into a car that gets delivered. So like the UPS driver.
Right. That's presumably what they're trying to obviate away. And I know
I'll buy that
UPS,
in the next 10 years.
Yeah, UPS and FedEx drivers and anyone who's involved in like mail delivery of any type, apparently the pay can actually be quite good, even if the jobs can be rather demanding. And again, this is one of those things I would have sworn would have been the first thing to be automated away, and talking about people losing jobs and the economic realities notwithstanding associated with that. But I really thought that that's what was going to happen first. And maybe is it like a large language model, more people in more situations more of the time, where right now we have the cooler robots that are going around college campuses, and life-saving medicines in the Australian outback or whatever.
Yeah.
And then a year from now, it's going to be, there's a small city pizza delivered, Neuro takes off, and they're doing some of your B-tier type cities from there. And then 2 years from that, Elon Musk finally follows through on his promise to make everyone's Model 3s and Cybertrucks into taxis. I do think, just like kind of everything else, we're not going to see a switch where all of a sudden it is self-aware, it is full self-driving, it is this, it is that. I think it's going to be a little bit more of the time and a little bit more of the set of circumstances.
The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Is that the quote?
Not evenly distributed and coming online one bit at a time instead of like every revolution in this industry that's touted and look at all this new stuff we can do isn't immediately turning into, and now robots can do your laundry. I mean, literally, we talked about a laundry robot that supposedly is not quite there yet, depending on, what you're looking at on this article. The Guardian talked about it. I think it's a bunch more quote unquote revolutions in technology before it actually comes together in a package that matters to most people. Just like not everyone's using ChatGPT yet. And it becomes more of an important tool for more people to use in their jobs, or some jobs are going away. That's two kinds of cases X% of the time. Similarly for robots, we're going to see it's a whole bunch more massive improvements, quote unquote, before that actually filters into the average Joe benefiting from it.
Oh, I look forward to this future. And I look forward to discussing it here on They Might Be Self-Aware. And if you want to participate in these conversations, like and subscribe, and they will magically appear before you as we pontificate and probe this maybe inevitable outcome, maybe not inevitable outcome. A little teaser coming up in the next episode. I've ordered a whole bunch. I've ordered 2 different M4 devices. That's the new Apple processor that has, and they're maxed out, has GPU cores the wazoo, so we can do some interesting local LLM experiments and distributing loads across them. We'll talk about that a tiny bit next time. And you can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts. Listen to us on Spotify. Any podcast directory is going to have They Might Be Self-Aware. Hunter and Daniel are there just waiting for you.
I'm waiting. We're waiting. Listen to us. Watch us. Read? Yeah, we do have the transcripts. Read us.
Read us. Maybe the transcripts aren't that great. Maybe don't look at the transcripts.
But you could read us.
And until next time,
They might be self-aware.